All of the majesty of this Hussar armor did not happen overnight. It happened over countless nights of careful cutting, tedious crafting, and of course, taping. I first had the idea for duct tape chainmail about 3 years ago, when I first began to brainstorm ideas for my tuxedo. Although the process with which I sought to craft the links changed throughout the years, the core spirit of it remained unchanged. What I ultimately landed on was using a machine to cut circles in a sheet of tape, and then carefully cutting each of those rings open and linking them with other rings to form the chainmail weave, and taping each ring closed. A very tedious process, to be sure, but as you can see in the bottom left picture, a breathtaking result. The process to craft each piece of armor involved cutting each shape out from a upcycled cardboard box, one that formerly held a certain popular set of interlocking plastic brick toys that many people have in their homes. I then glued each piece together and covered them in original duct tape before outlining them with silver and black. The process for creating the eagles and the hobby horses as well involved downloading SVG files from heraldicarts.org, importing those files into a CAD software where I then set one layer as a silhouette and a half-thick negative layer of the default outline. I scaled each to size in the slicer software and 3D printed them on a 3D printer. Once that was done, I took each 3D printed piece and covered it in duct tape. The process was similar for the shield as well, which I then glued a white eagle onto. To get the duct tape on the eagle was a tedious process. I put the eagle on a piece of tape and carefully used a knife to cut the outline out. Although not perfect, it definitely gets the idea of the Polish blazon across. A more minor detail that is harder to notice in my pictures is a cross made from 5 hearts. These were made in a similar way to the chainmail rings. It was designed in a design software and machine cut. I then took these crosses and glued and taped them on various pieces of my tux, including on the front of my tux, and on my belt and the sheath of the saber. Of course, my tux also had several accessories, the largest of which was the lance. You can see in the top left photo the outline of the flag, which was then covered in tape before being cut out. In the top right, you can see the pieces of the lance head before it was glued together. A bevel was later added, and of course, it was covered in tape. In the bottom left, you can see the beginnings of the saber before the handle in the middle picture was added, and it too was covered in tape. On the right, you can see a hobby horse head, printing with the same process I described previously, which is then, of course, covered in tape and detailed with various colors of duct tape. This photo shows the wings of my armor before they were fully finished. In this, they were just haphazardly taped onto the suit so I could get an idea of what it looked like before I fixed the feathers. Feathers were a key distinguishing mark of the Polish Hussar and one that absolutely needed to be included in my armor. Each feather was carefully hand cut, as you can tell. And these are the various tapes I used for my suit. Of course, nearly the entire tuxedo was covered in original duct tape. I also used wood duct tape for the handle of the lance. I used black and red to detail everywhere, brown for the belt, silver and gold for the accents, white for the flag, eagle, and my cravat, and clear tape, of course duck brand as well, as you can see, to attach various accessories. If you take a gander at the roll of silver tape, my mother and brother were very dismayed to see the state I left it in. And of course, I simply could not do this without my family. Suiting up just to take the photos took nearly 30 minutes with the help of my mother and brother, as many pieces of the armor had to be taped and tied on individually, including the bracers, shin guards, and thigh armor, before we could do the photo shoot. Thank you all for checking out my suit, and thank you Duct Tape for organizing this amazing competition.